Welcome to AG's Ace. Let's talk about AFSPA, the Armed Forces Special Powers Act, which has been such a contentious piece of legislation over the years. So many controversies have evolved around it, and of course, allegations of fake encounters, alleged rapes, and what have you. Now, what the Narendra Modi government has done is very, very good in my point of view, because it has withdrawn AFSPA from parts of Assam, Manipur, and Nagaland, and that is a pretty significant, if not an actually a historic move. Of course, now that this first move has been made, there would be calls that should AFSPA be also removed, if completely from Kashmir, if not, then at least partially. So those demands will now follow in that wake. Now, I believe that AFSPA should be lifted in phases, judiciously, not in one go, but more or less the government is moving on those lines, and it remains to be seen what the next steps would be. Now, to begin with, the AFSPA was introduced as a measure of counter-insurgency in border areas. It was meant to check local militancy, infiltration, and of course, also ensure that there were enough boots on the ground to hold the peace. Three questions arise. Number one, has AFSPA really helped end political violence? Number two, is the army meant to fight violent ideological battles? And number three, what would the other steps be to maintain the peace? These are three significant questions. So where the first two questions are concerned, the answer is no. The third answer involves government intervention to improve security, which could be unobtrusive, not harass civilians, provide employment, and offer of a better life to a young generation. All those things are very, very important. And crucially, in my point of view, the attempt to have more and more watered down peace versions should be completely avoided. And I believe for many years, the army was the sole go-to entity because of the fact that the local police and the intelligence in the state units were either incompetent or they were compromised to a great extent. So that warranted the need for the army to be called in. It was never supposed to be a job to be executed by the army. Let's get that right. The AFSPA was actually introduced in 1958 by then Congress government in Parliament, and it was meant to apply to disturbed areas. It was applicable to disturbed areas in the 7 sister states in the northeast: Arunachal, Assam, Manipur, Mizoram, Meghalaya, Nagaland, and Tripura. I believe that the immediate trigger for the Modi government's decision to withdraw AFSPA from certain areas was the death of 6 civilians, if you remember, in Nagaland's Mon district in December 2021 in a botched up operation by security forces. So in an open truck, the laborers were coming back home, and the security forces opened fire on them, killing 6 of them. After that, 7 more civilians were killed in retaliatory fire, as many of the civilians went berserk and they attacked paramilitary compounds, which made it even worse. The Nagaland Assembly passed a resolution for the repeal of AFSPA. Since the Modi government took charge, the Northeast has been given a lot of priority, and under pretty able leaders like Himanta Biswa Sarma, Kiren Rijiju, Jitendra Singh, and Biren Singh, and that move has been going on, which is a very wonderful thing. Now, the AFSPA per se has been routinely reviled. The main point of contention is that the Section 4 of the Act asserts that members of the military are permitted, and this is very important, they are permitted to shoot or use force, even to cause death, shoot on sight, to sustain civil order. It also provides for the detention of a suspect without a warrant and the use of force against someone who has committed a cognizable conduct or against whom there is clear suspicion. So which basically it gives them a carte blanche to do whatever they want to, and there's no one to question that. The 5-member Jeevan Reddy panel, which was appointed by the government in 2004 to assess the contents, they pointed out, and this is a pretty crucial line, that the AFSPA is a hate symbol, tyranny, and a tool of high-handedness. Pretty emphatic words there. Justice Santosh Hegde concluded that the AFSPA failed and this was a 114-page report which was released in 2013, that it failed to confront insurgency and that the military forces were engaging in egregious human rights abuses by functioning behind the protection of constitutional provisions. Now, the most important point is that why was AFSPA imposed in the Northeast? So, the immediate historical reference is that when Naga nationalist forces, they were active in 1950s with the formation of the Naga National Council, the forerunner to the NSCN. Assam authorities allegedly resorted to violence to suppress it. That triggered an armed rebellion, and after that everything was like a domino effect. As secessionist and nationalist activities grew in other northeastern states, AFSPA virtually took over these regions. Currently, 9 districts of Assam have been kept out of the government's decision, and they include, and this is important, Tinsukia, Karbi Anglong, Golaghat, Dibrugarh, Charaideo, Sivsagar, Jorhat, West Karbi Anglong, and Dima Hasao. And this is part of the Upper Assam Assamese heartland. The main reason behind keeping Upper Assam under AFSPA was the unconcluded peace talks between the Indian government and the pro-talks faction of the Assamese armed group, the Alpha. So, and a close look at the districts of Manipur that are still under AFSPA reveals that peace talks between the Home Ministry and the Kuki and Naga outfits have remained inconclusive. The Meiteis have also abstained so far. So whenever in any region where an attempt is made for a patch-up and it fails, or there is a watered-down peace version, there is a lot of problem happening there. And that is something to remember. The attempt to usher in peace records reveal their own story, watered-down peace accords, and this, according to me, is the most important instance, by sidelining the NSCN, Isaac Muiva faction, which was the sole signatory to the framework agreement with the Modi government, based on which the historic talks had started in 2015, have had zero impact. Now, the point to remember is that the NSCN-IM, it has been an influential outfit, and it has stymied other groups which were part of the process. And so it boiled down to the fact that what does it want? So it wanted a separate flag and a constitution of its own, which was unacceptable to the Indian government. So a watered down version came in, and once that happened, then it was absolutely no go. Now, from this point onwards, what I believe is that the way forward is to avoid the watered down peace versions, which was a Congress signature. The second point is that you need to reduce the boots on the ground, because it is an irritation to the civilian population. Third is increase the police force at the ground level in these states, strengthen them, strengthen the intelligence agencies, and last but not the least, provide employment, show a better life for the younger generation which is coming up, and there would be absolutely a very minimal problems in these states, and the steps that the Modi government has taken so far will bear fruition. Thanks for watching.